Welcome back to another episode of Insideout Universe. I'm very happy that you guys are back for another episode. Before we get into today's discussion, I just wanted to give a brief introduction of what's going to be happening today and what happened last week. I was supposed to drop an episode last Sunday and I decided not to. The reason for that was because of everything that's going on in Iran and in the world. I just didn't feel right. I didn't want to talk about anything or distract people from what's happening in the world, so I decided to put a pause on it. Shahvar, being my friend, I actually talked to him about it and he agreed that it's a good idea to do that. And also he said, hey, maybe make an episode where you talk about what's going on. So I invited him on again. He's the only guest that's ever been back to film.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
So I invited him back to say, hey, listen, let's talk about it together because I want this to be a informative discussion for people who may not know certain things and also be the type of discussion that brings people together and is able to unite us in some way. So, hi, Shahvar. How are you doing?
Hi, good. I'm glad to be back and honored to be the first guest to come on twice.
I knew this was going to happen, to be honest. I was like, if anyone's going to come back, it's this guy. Also, for today's episode, for everyone watching, I want to let you guys know that it's not the usual dynamic where I'm the host and I'm asking questions. It's kind of like a co-host situation. We didn't talk about the things that we wanted to discuss. We wanted it to just be very organic. But there are certain things that you have on your mind that you want to talk about. There are certain things that I have on my mind that I want to talk about. So let's take it from here, Shahvar.
Yeah, yo. So why don't you tell the people what inspired you to have this conversation?
Okay. So a few things, right? I think I am the kind of person personally, and I think that this is something that could be a very productive mentality for a lot of people to share. I'm the type of person who values procedure more than substance. Substance being people's opinions, people's experiences. Those things to me are subjective and are different. People's opinions will differ based on their position in society, based on their perspectives, their life experiences. And although I think that those things are very valid, and I want to let people know that your opinions in these times, they're valid. If you are all over the place, that's okay. If you have mixed emotions, that's okay. But I think at critical moments like this, it's important to focus on procedure. Procedure being, okay, I have a personal opinion. Let me put that to the side and conform to something that can help us as human beings, us as the people, move forward in a united kind of way. Because the thing that I hate seeing most, I don't hate seeing people that disagree with me. I don't hate seeing different opinions. What I hate seeing is division. Especially at critical points like this, I think that people really need to focus on being united. So the reason why I wanted to do this episode is because I wanted to give people information. I wanted to give people a platform to maybe go and have other conversations on their own with people in their own community and do it respectfully and in a productive manner. So my goal from this podcast is to share information and to come out united.
Yeah.
Those are my two goals. What about you?
I mean, I think it's such a nuanced and complex conversation to have. There's so many angles that we can take and so many ways that we can go about this. But one conversation that I had recently on my Instagram was coming to mind. It was I put out a message on my story saying if anybody has any information on how Canadian citizens can get out of Iran, anything will be helpful. And a lot of people were helpful. A lot of people, it all just came down to they gotta either go to Turkey or Armenia. But one person commented, and they don't even follow me. This is what was crazy. They don't follow me. I don't know.
Person.
Yeah, a random person. They responded to my story and they went, tell them to stay there so they can watch the fall of the Islamic regime and watch Israel save Iran. And my first reaction was, if this guy was in front of me, I'd choke him. You know what I mean? What do you mean tell them to stay
No,
there.
I feel you.
While Israel's bombing it, and I'm gonna tell my family to stay there. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
But I didn't react negatively because I could tell he's just misinformed. So I was like, so I basically had a bit of a conversation with him. I'm like, what do you mean? Do you really think that the country that's been murdering children and women, innocent people, and colonizing and ethnically cleansing the Palestinian people is going to save my people? Do you really think that? And he basically treated me like I was misinformed, being like, that's not what's happening. That's just propaganda, right?
Interesting.
Yeah. And so I would love to inform people who have that perspective,
Okay.
right?
I like that. So you're a little bit more substance oriented and I'm a little bit more procedure oriented.
Yes.
Which together should be a nice podcast.
Yeah.
Before we go into the beginning of this podcast, because I kind of am in my head thinking that we should do a structure of providing some context and some history, maybe getting into a little bit of what's happening right now, and then maybe at the end we can offer some solutions or things that we think could be helpful moving forward.
Yeah.
Do you
Sure.
like that structure?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. You
Well-
can leave this in, by the way. This is as raw as it gets.
Well, first off, I'm not a historian. You know, I'm just a regular guy who Googles what he can.
Okay,
you know what I
fair.
mean? And I read what I can. But like Palestine has been a very sensitive thing for me, like a sensitive topic for me all my life because I have Palestinian friends. One of my best friends is Palestinian, and growing up
Yeah.
with him is what made me aware of what was happening over there. Like growing up, he literally had family members dying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it wasn't none of this like, oh, it's propaganda. No, literally cousins and uncles and aunts and stuff in getting kicked out of their homes and bombed, right? So
You have like you have skin in the game.
I guess a little bit. I mean, not as much as him, but like I got to kind of
Yeah.
witness it firsthand. I got to witness his pain firsthand, right?
Yeah.
So I was really curious. I'm like, whoa, what is Israel? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, how did this thing start?
Yeah.
Right? And at a very young age, I was introduced to this idea of Zionism, right? And so then I did a little bit of research, and I learned that Zionism is a movement that was formulated in the mid 1800s with the purpose of putting together a Jewish state, and I agree with that. I think the Jewish people deserve a Jewish state, to have an
Yeah.
army and to protect themselves, especially with everything that's happened in history.
Yeah, I
Right?
agree.
Now, there's a lot of in between. Like, we can get into like how there was supposed to be a Jewish state in Uganda, for example, and the Zionist Congress in 1905, I think, voted on taking uninhabited land without having to go to war, without having to kick people out of their homes. They could have had land in Uganda where they could have started a Jewish state, and they had a vote, right? And the majority voted no, but a lot of them actually voted yes, right?
Okay.
And the no vote comes from them, the Zionist Congress, wanting the Holy Land, wanting Palestine, wanting Jerusalem, right? And fast forward to the Balfour Declaration, when Arthur Balfour, Lord Milner, Walter Rothschild, they came to an agreement that they will help the Zionist Congress get the land in Palestine, right? And without political jargon, because a lot of people will mask this with political jargon and be like, Palestine was never a sovereign state, blah, 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 blah. Fuck that. They were kicking people out of their homes, bombing them out of their homes, and ethnically cleansing them for the last 80 years. This shit didn't start on October 7th.
No, it didn't. Yeah.
Right? And it's crazy because, like, right now they make it about a fight against terrorism, right? And if you look at, I'll give you one example of how Israel is built off of terrorism. If you look up their prime minister before Netanyahu, Menachem Begin, he was the commander of Irgun, which was recognized by the UN as a terrorist group.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Irgun bombed King David Hotel. Jewish people, Arabs, Palestinians, with the mission to get certain people that were in the hotel, but they bombed innocent people, right? The commander that led that attack was Menachem Begin, the prime minister before he was prime minister.
Yeah.
Right? Then he went on to become prime minister. So you're telling me a terrorist group that's recognized by the UN, the commander of that terrorist group, who's done unthinkable things, went on to become the prime minister, but their government is not bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's just one example, and we can get into like little details and stuff, but I feel like it would do a disservice to what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
But yeah, now we're here today, and Gaza's still getting bombed, and there never has been really an agreement, and yeah, so
to take this, which is I think is
yeah.
what?
No, I was gonna say, so free Palestine.
This is where the episode ends. I love that. This is part of the reason why I really wanted you to come on, because like I sometimes get frustrated. Like I was telling my mom, and I literally had tears in my eyes where I was like, I felt like a kid. I was like, why don't people care? I was at my mom's house and I was like, I swear to God, I was crying and I was like, why do I care so much? I was like, I don't want to care, but I feel like we should care. And I was like telling my mom, and I'm like, I don't know if there's something wrong with me for this really it hurts me in a different way that I can explain, you know? And I was like, I think the people who don't care are the ones that have something wrong with them, you know, because this is not a matter of like, I love the fact that you're on here because I know you're someone that is extremely empathetic and you actually have this spirit of like a freedom fighter in the true essence of the word. And I feel like that word is getting thrown around a lot these days. But the reason why I specifically wanted you to come on is because it's not a thing that you do. It's a thing that you are. You know what I mean? To be a freedom fighter, to care about social justice, to about humanity. And I think that history that you provided there's a lot of things that we could go into. But I think that was a good little backdrop for what we're about to start discussing. Because one thing that procedurally I'm interested in is why don't people understand or pay attention to patterns? History is not something that you study for fun. It's not something that you are a history nerd or you're not. History is a way of life. And the saying that history repeats itself is not a cliche. It is literally something that everyone needs to know. To understand history is to be powerful. To have knowledge is to have power. And I personally think that there's no room for ignorance in this day and age that we live in, especially because information is so readily available to us. So my first point is for people to pay attention to history. My second point, based on everything you said, is people are very easily manipulated nowadays. And the reason for that is social media, right? And I want people to understand that the same way that these corrupt governments use social media to brainwash us, we could use social media to spread information, to do the opposite. It's a cyber war. It really is. Because this issue has nothing to do with being anti-Semitic. It has nothing to do with being Islamophobic. It has nothing to do with religion, period. There's Jewish people that are coming out right now saying, we don't believe this fight that Israel is putting us through. We don't want the Holy Land if this is how it's gonna go. There is Muslim people that are coming out and denouncing what the regime is doing and has been denouncing what they're doing for years. So this has nothing to do with religion. This is all tactical, okay? This is about power.
I actually want to add to that, and because a lot of people think Zionism is synonymous to Judaism, but it's not.
I know.
right? It's crazy because you have Christian Zionists, you have Muslim Zionists, which is like people think that's a paradox, but no, it's not. You have Christian Zionists, Muslim Zionists, Jewish Zionists, right? And I think a good way to be able to pinpoint that and define it is anybody who wants the biblical prophecy to come to fruition, the whole Israel biblical prophecy and the Messiah coming out and eliminating Israel's enemies, like that whole biblical prophecy, whoever wants that to come to fruition is a Zionist, right? Because, well, if they wanted to come to fruition through like Netanyahu, because they are very clearly manufacturing the biblical prophecy.
That is true.
That is the whole reason they didn't want Uganda. They wanted the Holy Land, right? That is the whole reason Christian nations are backing Israel. That is the whole reason Saudi Arabia is backing. They want this prophecy to come to fruition, right? So I just want to clear that up. It's not like anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism. It's not anti-Judaism. There, like you said, there's Israelis and Jewish people who are coming out and denouncing what's happening.
And it's the exact same thing for the Islamic regime. The Islamic regime is like, they don't speak for all Muslims, you know? We have no problem with Muslims. There's never been an issue directed towards Islam ever, in my opinion, at least, and I think you would agree. Religion has nothing to do with it. It's just a matter of these greedy, corrupt people who want to advance their own agendas in the name of religion, okay? Because it's really simple, in my opinion. I don't have to be Jewish to know this. I don't have to be Muslim to know this. I don't have to be Christian to know this. If any God is making you kill children, completely flatten countries, and ruin people's lives to gain territory, I do not think that that is a God. I don't think that any God would want you to do that. And that's not based on any information on any particular religion. That's just because I'm a human being and I have the essence of God in me. And I refuse to believe that any God from any religion would want the Holy Land or whatever at this expense. You know, so that's a good thing to be aware of, to not let social media brainwash you into thinking that this is somehow a religious issue, to not let them make this seem like this is anything to do with nuclear weapons, is another thing that I want to talk about. Although I believe that the UN is bullshit, okay? And this is not my opinion. Nothing they say is binding. They have no legal authority. They are bought in many ways because the countries that sign into treaties in the UN fund the UN. So that's just objective corruption, in my opinion. However, if you want to look at this as a metric, there are many countries who have not signed the NPT, which is the nuclear whatever treaty, you know what I'm talking about. And Israel is amongst those countries that has not signed it. And Israel itself is one of the countries who has not allowed foreign entities into their country to come and assess their nuclear sites and how much nuclear weapons they do have. Israel is one of the countries, I'm not even going to say Israel, there is other countries like completely irrelevant, India, that have even tested their nuclear weapons. Iran, on the other hand, for years it has been said that they have nuclear weapons, that they're going to test it, or whatever, and it has never happened. And I say this because I want to demonstrate to you that none of these things that they are using on social media to brainwash people have any factual basis. Not in religion, not in politics, nothing. They are completely fabricated because they just do not want more opposition when they are going to fulfill their agenda, which is essentially to gain territory and to have control in the Middle East.
It's the same playbook. It's what's crazy to me.
Every time.
It's the same playbook every time. and like the weapons of mass destruction playbook. And when they started using, because like even Hamas to me is the weapons of mass destruction playbook. You create a villain so you can be the hero,
Yeah.
right? And not to mention, like Israel is on record saying that they funded Hamas, right? Yeah. But anyways, that's besides the point. Like the whole weapons of mass destruction thing, it's the same playbook. So when they're using the nuclear weapons playbook, I'm like, oh, I'm laughing. I'm like, oh, okay, nobody's gonna buy this.
I'm laughing too, but they do buy it.
But they do buy it, right? And it's like one of the reasons I am like slowly becoming more and more jaded to society, because it's like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
Really? Like, really, bro? You're really buying this shit?
Yeah.
And I've seen it as it usually, like even with the pandemic, for example, like when the pandemics first started happening, I'm like, nah, people are gonna see this. Like, you can see the playbook. It's like they literally have it on video, like event 201, da-da-da-da-da. But nah, it's like slowly they get brainwashed, and slowly the propaganda trickles in and starts working. And that's what I'm seeing happen right now. I'm seeing a lot of people be like, guys, come on. If Iran had a nuclear weapon, they would nuke us.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, oh, you guys are buying it. You guys are buying it. Not to say that the Iranian government isn't tyrannical, corrupt, evil. Fuck. They are. They absolutely are, right? But that doesn't mean, let Israel bomb the shit out of innocent people, flatten Iran, and then put in Reza Pahlavi that's going to come and save the fucking day. Come on, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where the fuck has he been? Where was he during the Massa uprising? And now suddenly
he's back.
Netanyahu talks to the people in English, by the way, so that should tell you who he's talking to, saying this is the time for Iranian people to come and rise up and destroy your government from within, and then we got you guys. Yeah. Oh, you guys got us? Yeah. And then the next day, Reza Pahlavi comes out and he says the same thing. It's like, bro, we see the videos of you walking with Netanyahu.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? Like, I think that we as people should be offended by the fact that they think we are such morons. Okay? I see these things and I laugh because I'm like, there is no way we saw what happened in Libya. We saw what happened in Iraq. We saw what happened in Lebanon. We're seeing what's happening in Palestine and we're still buying this shit.
Bro, I love Persian history.
Me too.
I love Persian history. Cyrus the Great. I'm reading the books. You know what I mean? I read up random facts about ancient Persia, the Shahs. I'm obsessed with it, right? I would love for our nation to be run by a great leader.
Yeah.
You know, a great government. But just because he has the last name doesn't mean he's that guy. I don't think he is. So it's like it's becoming a this or that thing. And I think, like you said before the podcast, like we're losing what's in between.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't know what the answer is. That's like where I feel helpless and even useless at times, where it's like, yeah, like the Islamic regime ain't it. Reza Pahlavi ain't it. Right? America ain't it. Israel ain't it. So what's the answer? I don't know.
I know.
What is You do?
No.
I was like, shit. Okay, that's the reason I'm here.
But you know what, though? I have a couple thoughts. One thought that I share with Shahvar, because we talked about it a little bit before the podcast, is that in terms of what should happen to Iran, that, I think, in my opinion, is a conversation that needs to be led by the people who are directly affected. And Shahvar agrees with me, right?
Absolutely.
So maybe right now is not the time, because the people I was having this conversation with Ali the other day, the people whose voices matter the most are not saying anything right now. And the reason for that is because they are directly dealing with what's happening. So maybe they're not hopping on social media and saying, hey, this is what should happen, because they're in the midst of it.
Yeah.
They're also censored. The regime has shut down the internet. People are not able to actually even voice themselves. So in the meantime, I don't think it's for you and I, or people who are maybe Iranians that are outside of Iran, to make that decision. I think we are just supposed to be there to amplify their voices when they do talk and to empower them to make these decisions because they have been so resilient and they have done so well despite everything that they have gone through. So that's where I stand in terms of my solution for that. I think we need to allow this to be a conversation that is led by the people who are directly affected when they are ready, okay? In terms of what we could be doing here, however, I have a lot of opinions, especially because I have lived in America. I went to law school in America. I practice as an attorney in America. I have been to court many, many times in America, and I am obsessed with the American Constitution. Anybody who knows me knows this. And that's not to say that it's great or it's not great. It's just I'm fascinated by human rights and the Constitution in general. I think so far, you know what's funny? Actually, I'll start like this. I was thinking about that scene from American History X the other day, and I told you this, where he was, he'd just been attacked in prison, and his high school teacher goes to him to see him, and he says, "You've been this way and you've lived this way your whole life, but how has this belief served you?" Okay? And I think that's a very good place to start for people like us. You may have an opinion that, oh, Reza Pahlavi is good for the country. You may have an opinion that America should get involved. You may have an opinion that whatever. But you need to put these opinions next to the patterns that you have seen in history and ask yourself, how has this opinion or this mindset served me or people like me? Okay? And I have done that with a plethora of these opinions. And all of them always come to, they have not served me. They have not served the people in general. And another thing that I think is helpful is I think the only good thing that has come out of everything that's happening is that the masks have fallen. You are able to see that every government is just as corrupt as the other. Every government has ties to another, whether it's through blackmail or through deals or whatever, and they are all the same. The Islamic regime is no different than Israel's government. Israel's government is no different than America's government. They're all corrupt. They're all elitists. So in my opinion, where does this leave us as people who live on this side of the world? I think it teaches us a very valuable lesson. And that lesson is to minimize government interference in our lives, period. This is not an overnight change. I think people want us to rally in the streets and burn down the buildings and tomorrow Iran is free and America is free and I would love that to be the case, but that's not how it's going to happen. So the change is going to be slow, especially at our contributions because we are so far removed from it. It is going to be slow. But I want everybody to keep in the back of our minds, relying on the government, any government. How has that served us? Any of us. So when you look at things like elections and people say, oh, I don't care, especially like Gen Z. That's a new thing of like, I don't care about politics, liberals and conservatives and whatever and this and that. And it's like, yeah, it's fucked up, but we need to slowly start untangling the mess that has been made. And I think the way that we could start untangling this is by giving more power to each other and to our communities, by learning how to have dialogue without fighting, by not needing government reliance, by reducing the government's role to being nothing more than public servants, which is what they were supposed to be. Okay? That's what governments were supposed to be. We pay them through our tax money for them to serve us as public servants. Now they are our rulers and we are their subjects. And this has happened over time. So that mindset shift needs to happen if we are going to see any change. So the next time your government offers you a free handout, whoever you may be, the next time they promise you social assistance, the next time they promise you enhanced rights, ask yourself at what price, okay? I have no problem with trans people. I have no problem with minorities. It's not that I don't care. I actually do care, and I don't have a problem. What I have a problem with, and I've said this in a lot of different podcasts that have nothing to do with this one, what I care about is government interference. And it's because as a lawyer, I know how this goes. It starts off, they sell it to us as a right that they're giving us. The right to freely express yourself, the right to use whatever bathroom you want, the right to change your body to whatever you want, the right to anybody. I'm just using this as an example. And they use that to start slowly infiltrating and getting more and more involved in your life until you have no choice but to just be a subject and have them rule over you. And that is one thing that I think is a solution for us, is we need to shift our mindset and remind ourselves that they are public servants. If they are not making your life more efficient, if they are not doing labor on a broad scale, they have no business in your decisions, in my decisions. And that doesn't come from a political position of being conservative or liberal. That comes from a place of wanting the power to stay with us, the people. That was my spiel. I'm
Talk
sorry.
your fucking shit, girl. Talk your shit.
Thanks for letting me get out off my chest, bro. Fuck.
Bro, that hyped me up.
Sorry, I know that was
No, don't apologize. I was sick, yo.
I was so passionate about that. Can you tell I've been thinking about this at 4 a.m?
Yo, that's fire. I agree wholeheartedly with every fucking word you said. And, I think it's unfortunate. Like, it actually makes me anxious to accept that this is all just a slow change, right? Because to accept it, you have to have faith in the people, right? And unfortunately, I'm losing faith in the people, right? And it's like, it just seems to be getting more and more difficult to shift that way. Like, America's lobbying, the lobbying. It's like, are they really for the people, or are they just for the interests of the organizations, the corporations, the countries that are lobbying for the president, right? Like, I've heard RFK, Vivek, and these guys say that AIPAC is way too involved. AIPAC, and for those who don't know what AIPAC is, go look it up. Because if you don't know what AIPAC is, I don't even know why you're still here. Go look it up. Tell me it's not insane that Israel is one of the biggest lobbyists of the presidents, of government. Right? They're funding What do you think happens when I fund a campaign? You owe me a fucking favor, dude. You know what I mean? You think I'm doing it for no reason? It's so
obvious. It's crazy.
Right? It's like, it's in plain sight. And I really want to believe that we can all collectively shift our mindsets to this progressive, like real progressive state, this place where we're going to slowly change and slowly change our governments, because that's what it is. But democracy is supposed to be, our governments are our servants. Our politicians are doing shit for us, but it doesn't feel that way, right? Yeah,
I get that. And you know what? Like, I have that conversation with a lot of people who are like, like, that's great and all, but that's not how it works, and that's not whatever. And to be honest with you, I really I try not to dislike anybody, but I really, really dislike those people who roll over and do it with the disguise of being "it is what it is" kind of people.
Yeah.
I hate it. It is what it is, motherfucker, because it's not. It is what it is. It is what we want it to be.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And it's like, at the end of the day, what is saying things like, oh, society's not like that. Unfortunately, our generation, that's just a cop-out of othering yourself so that you're like, oh, I agree, but society's not that way. You are society. I am society. You are society. If I don't believe that this mindset is right, I am responsible for myself. and for maybe the few people that I loved and my loved ones and my immediate community. But if I take that individual accountability and I encourage and I empower my community, my friends, my family to take on that mentality, to take back their power, and every other person who seems to agree does the same thing, then that's society, But unfortunately, people have been very disempowered, and I don't blame them. There's been a lot of things that have happened that have humbled us in a lot of ways that we should not have been humbled. There has been a lot of traumatic things that have happened to a lot of different people around the world, be it Palestinians, be it Iranians, being whatever. But at the end of the day, if anything is going to change, even if it's not in our lifetime, the change starts with us. And that's not a cliche, that is the truth. That's the only thing I can do.
It is a cliche, and it's a cliche for a reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Cliches are only cliches because they're true for long enough.
Yeah, that is true. How do you feel about me going on another short little tangent?
Fucking do it.
Because I have thought a lot about this, and because every time I have a conversation, whether it's with Iranians or non-Iranians, it always comes down to, so then what should we do? So then what's the solution? And it's like, sometimes the solution is not like A, B, C, Sometimes it's not that clear. But so as a result of that question, I've started thinking about it a lot, of what can people do? And the first thing I shared about reducing government reliance is one thing. The other thing, there's been a lot of talk about whether or not protests are useful. Should we go out on the streets or should we not go out on the streets? I saw somebody post on Instagram on their story, please don't let me see you at Melisman Square. That doesn't do anything for the Iranians. Please, just don't do it. You look stupid. And then I have, on the other hand, people who are sharing flyers of different protests. And then I have other people who are like, oh, don't go to this protest, go to this protest. So, and then at the end of it, people always ask, are protests even useful? In my opinion, this is less procedural and more substantive. I think if there is going to be a protest, the protest needs to either increase in intensity, and there's ways that I think that could happen, or it needs to be directed at different people. We direct our protests towards the government. They don't care. They don't give a fuck. Even if you look at it in the States, if they want to clean up a protest, they will. Just like everything that happened with the ICE protests, and they brought in the Marines and started, freaking just getting people off the streets like they were pests. If they want to, they will. If it somehow aligns with their interests to minimize the damage and give the people kind of what they want, they will. Either way, it's not the most powerful use of our energy because the government is corrupted. I think if you are going to protest, you should protest the military. I think you should protest veterans. And I don't mean in a bad way. I mean in a way of join your people. This war is no longer for you. The cause is no longer for you. The cause is not what they promised you when they told you to go leave your families and go die in another person's land. And that is becoming increasingly clear. And I myself am the type of person, I have a lot of respect and love for veterans because I believe that they truly do believe that they're fighting for their people and their land and to protect their country and their nation and their people. I believe that. I have a soft spot for veterans and for people in the military. But they also need to ask themselves for what cause and at what expense. These wars are no longer for you. People went to Iraq and died and lost their lives for what cause? At what expense? I'm seeing videos of people who were Israeli soldiers coming out, and it broke my heart when I saw this video where he was an Israeli soldier and he said, I killed 40 people, over 40 people, as I served the state of Israel. What for? He's like, when I sleep at night and I close my eyes, those people come to me and ask me why. They say, why did you kill us? And that breaks my heart. I don't look at that person as a murderer. I look at that person as someone who had good intentions, but someone who is misguided. And maybe someone just like any of us who's been sold a wrong narrative or brainwashed in the wrong way or forced to think something that is not true, and we've all been a victim to that in our own ways. But I think the real protest should be towards the military of our nations to join the people. I saw a video, and I don't always agree with Candace Owens, but I thought this was a cool thing that she said. She said, if you're in the U.S. military, get dishonorably discharged. And I agree with that. And I sit here knowing the consequences of what I'm saying. But I'm telling you that if you are in the military, you are no longer fighting a battle that is for you and your family and your country. You are fighting a battle for people who are elitists, for people who want greed and power. It has nothing to do with you anymore. So I plead with those people. My protest is to those people. Please, whether you are in the Israeli military, whether you are in the Iranian military, whether you are in the American military, please join your people. This war no longer concerns you, and that's what I think our protest should be directed towards. Because when I look at, when you think about successful protests, right? I thought about this a lot. What comes to my mind, one of the first ones that comes to my mind is the Vietnam War protests.
Right.
Where it was just an anti-war protest.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was about stop this war, join your people. If you're in the military, stop. That was the angle. It wasn't an us versus Israelis, us versus Iranians. It was like a plea to people in the military and people who were executing these wars to stop. At the end of the day, Hitler would have just been one really insane man if it wasn't for his army. It really does come down to that. These people, these governments, they are powerless. We give them power. They get their power from us. Us the people who have joined the military. So that's another thing that I have been plagued by.
I think that's.
What do you think about that?
I think that's a very productive way to look at things. I mean, I remember this is another affirmation that it didn't all start on October 7th, even though I know it's so ridiculous to even think that. But in 2021, I was at the Palestine protest in Toronto. There was so many people there. There was Jewish people there, there's Palestinians there. Everybody was uniting. They weren't protesting at the military or anything. I think that's a very productive way to go about things. But Israel was really going at Palestine at that time in 2021. Well, they have been, but I mean, it just seemed so much more intense. And there was protests everywhere, right? The protests resulted, in my opinion, because it came right after that weekend of mass protests, resulted in a ceasefire, right? There was a 12-day ceasefire or something like that, and then they went right back to business. But it just went to show that they were hearing it, and there was a disruption, right? A lot of people think, it's nothing. It's just a bunch of people getting together and whatever. But it does disruption, right? So it doesn't go unseen and unheard. If you're not going to go at the military, you can go at specific politicians too, right? But yeah, I think that's a really good way to look at things.
Thank you. But when I say that, I don't mean go at the military in the way of they're somehow to blame.
No,
for
you're
any
calling
of this.
out to the military.
But it's literally a plea. I don't lump the military in with the governments.
Yeah.
I think these governments are corrupt. They're fucked. As far as it comes to people who, for example, serve in the Islamic regime, or people like the Revolutionary Guards, or the IDF soldiers, as far as those people are poor 18, 19-year-old kids. In Iran, there's conscription. So, even when Israel was we're only striking military bases, it's these military soldiers are children. They are kids from buttfuck nowhere, a village in Iran, who are just serving their time because there's conscription.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's I don't at all look at the military as they are to blame, but I think that if you keep going and if you keep fighting for these causes that aren't ours as the people, Because at the end of the day, when you're in the military, you want to protect the people of your nation, protect your country. But if you keep going with these causes, then I think there will come a time where you will be to blame.
Yeah.
Like the same way that we look at history and we go, well, what about the people who followed Hitler? Mm-hmm. They were fucked too, because Hitler on his own couldn't have done as much damage as he did. Mm-hmm. And I know it sounds funny and it sounds exaggerated when you hear it, but it really is like that. None of these lunatics have the balls to stay and fight their own wars. Mm-hmm. They struck the first missile in Iran and all those fucking regime motherfuckers were gone the next day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, they're like, oh, like even when it comes to like Ukraine, they're like, oh, Zelensky fought with his people. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He can't even account for the money that he was given. All of these fucking governments are corrupt. They all are. And I think another like way to like for people to reframe this, which is like to me personally, when I think about it this way, it's so liberating. It's not Iran versus Israel versus America versus whatever. It's the people versus governments. Corrupt governments, all of us, we are all the people, and that also helps put into perspective what other minorities can do for example, Iranians or Palestinians when things like this is going on. You are the people, society kind of like divides us in these ways. And I had this conversation with you and I was reluctant to talk about it because I didn't want to take away from this issue. But I did a podcast a couple weeks ago, and I created space for one of my friends to come on here and advocate for what she believed in. And I stand by that 100%. I don't think she in any way did anything wrong, but I think what she said was very symbolic of how Iranians are treated, which is she looked at me and she said, you're white. White people are always on some kumbaya shit. Okay? And I think that perfectly demonstrates what is dividing us as a society, where it's like they have divided and fragmented us into so many different groups: straight versus gay, trans versus cis, black versus white, woman versus man, married versus unmarried. Anything they can find to differentiate us and to fragment us as a society, they have done it. And unfortunately, in the West, because it's trendy to be a freedom fighter, people are drinking the Kool-Aid. Mm-hmm. Don't drink the fucking Kool-Aid.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid.
Don't drink the fucking Kool-Aid, for real, because people marginalizing, for example, black communities through systemic racism and whatever is just as bad as the people reinforcing that framework. Mm-hmm. It's not a matter of being colorblind or blind or not caring. It's a matter of I care about you because you are a part of my community, because my community is the people. My community is not the Persian people. That's my immediate community. I have a lot of communities, but ultimately my community is the people. You can be black, white, trans, whatever that is. Do not drink the fucking Kool-Aid. You know what I mean? And you'll talk to people and they'll be like, I've heard this, I like Whoopi Goldberg. Did you hear what she said? She said, what Iranians are going through right now is the same thing that African Americans go through every day in America.
What does she mean by that?
She meant she's literally what I said. What Iranians are going through is the same thing that African Americans go through in America every day.
Okay. I guess from one perspective, we can think there's unity in that, being like, hey, we're part of a similar struggle and I hear you. Or she's trivializing our experience and struggle.
But you know what this is a good exercise. We're doing an exercise right now, right? That's a belief she has, right? You and I, as people who have heard her say that, now that I've told you, we have the option to think that way. We have the option to think she's minimizing what people in Iran are going through. We have the option to think that she's empathizing with what people are going through. But that's getting into substance. Let's look at this procedurally. How has this mindset served us?
Nothing but division.
Nothing but division.
Yeah.
I don't care who went through more of what. What I care about is that none of us should go through this. Yeah. You know what I mean? And there is no comparing. All I see is comparison. Any person that I talk to who's like non-Iranian, it'll immediately go into, well, this community went through, even Palestine. Oh my God, Iran? Look at what Palestine went through. It's like, what is the point of that?
Yeah.
How is that mentality of comparing and contrasting served us at all as the people? It hasn't. You know what I mean? I don't want to think about, oh, what Persians are going through is the same as, that's not unifying to me. Like, why are we are all the same, and right now a certain group of us is getting smoked.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There's urgency there.
Yeah, how has that mindset served you? How has the mentality served you? I really like that.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's a good, like that's a good practical exercise.
It brings you right to your answer immediately. I mean, it brings us back to playbooks again, right? Like, this is divide and conquer. It's like the most ancient playbook. You know what I mean? And they're drinking the Kool-Aid. We're drinking the Kool-Aid. That's basically what it is.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid.
Don't drink the fucking Kool-Aid. But yeah, yo.
But you get what I'm saying, though, right? It's
Absolutely.
fucked. It's really, really fucked, because like it. You know, like, because, like, for me, like, everything that happens on a macro level has to be true on the micro level.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, as a person, if I'm interacting with you and I tell you, hey, like, I've had a really rough week, and my parents are getting divorced, and my sister's in the hospital and whatever.
Yeah, but what about the kids in Africa?
And you say that to me.
You think about what they're going through.
What does that
and
do
compare
to
that.
me?
Compare that to what it's not so bad. You're all right.
If you were to say that to me, then I would, as I'm a human being.
Yeah.
Okay? What would that do? That would make me resent you.
100%.
And that's what they want.
Yeah.
You know, and I try very hard. Again, this is another exercise you should do. If it's causing division, don't drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
When I heard that Whoopi thing and it was all over social media, I didn't immediately go into Whoopi's fucked and Whoopi's whatever and this and that, because that's substance. I don't care about that. We could argue about that another day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I immediately went into, this is me making me not like her.
Right.
And I don't like that they're making me not like her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was like, there's a time and a place, and right now is not the time and the place for this conversation. And this conversation is building resentment in me. Mm. And everything that happens on a micro level, the same way that if I were to tell you my problems and you came at me like, but what about the kids in Africa? That would make me build resentment for you. That's the same thing on a macro level. When the Palestinians are going through something that has more urgency right now, urgency is objective. It's very, very objective. It's something that's happening right now that is impending, that is life-threatening, that is critical. I cannot take attention away from that to say, but we also went through this, and that. That's going to build resentment. Mm. And I say this as somebody who loves the people in my community being all humans. I don't want that division. I don't want to feel resentment for you. Mm-hmm. You know? So please don't other yourself. Don't compare and contrast. We're the same. And right now, a few of us are going through something that's a little bit more urgent.
Yeah. I mean, I get the mindset of people. So, because sometimes I do that to myself, where I'm like, what a shitty day. And then I go, the kids in the Middle East are having a shittier day, right? But like, it just reminds me to be grateful of what I have, but it doesn't trivialize what I'm going through. Like, yeah, I'm still depressed that day. I'm still grieving that day or mourning that day, or I'm still just feeling low, right? It's all relative, right? But there is this tactic that's being constantly used in the mainstream media, even independent media right now is getting hijacked, where they're using the divide and conquer playbook. Because like, as long as we're fighting with each other over dumb shit, we're never gonna come together.
And they're doing whatever they want,
right? And they're doing whatever they want, and we're not we could keep fighting about, the left and the right and conservative and blah blah blah, Republican. We could keep doing that, but it's not gonna do any service. We're not gonna progress as a society whatsoever. So trying to find that common ground is extremely important. And being able to walk together, disagree, that's fine.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I don't agree with everyone.
Yeah. Disagree with shit. I'm like, even that guy who responded to my story and he's like, get them to my last words to the conversation was, I was like, this war isn't between me and you, brother. Much love. I hope you have a wonderful day. Right? And I sent him a heart. A heart is worth a lot. But
what color was the heart?
It was a white heart.
Oh, I sent white hearts.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just like I could have easily got really mad at him and put him into a category of resentment, and because I do resent the IDF, I do resent Israel, I do resent the Islamic regime.
But that's what they want, so don't drink the Kool-Aid.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid. But I will drink the Kool-Aid of resenting those governments. I will drink all of the Kool-Aid.
That's not Kool-Aid. We all agree that.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
It's not Kool-Aid. It's Sprite. I'm drinking the Sprite. But I'm not gonna. I'll do everything in my power to not put regular people, the common person, into those categories.
Exactly.
Right. I was telling my boy the other day, like my Palestinian friend, actually, I was talking to him on the phone, and he was telling me about how like people are messaging him, or people at work will be like, "Yo, what you said or what you posted was really, anti-Semitic." And like he told me how he had a conversation with them, and it was like a civil discourse, right? I'm like, yo, I wish people would talk to me. Like, I wish people would want to have that conversation. I'm not going to be combative or aggressive or like, but I feel like it's an opportunity for me to be able to educate.
Yeah.
And express, because I'm not above anybody. I'm not saying, I'm smarter than people so I can educate these dumbasses. I'm saying like, I can educate them as to why I feel the way I feel.
Yeah.
And then they can educate me as to why they feel the way they feel. Mm-hmm. And then I can decide if they're stupid or not after. You know what I mean?
I feel you. There is a concept that we learn about in law school. And I remember the first time my professor told me this, I loved it. He was like, if you are not able to understand the opposing side to your side, just as well as you understand your own side, you don't understand your side as well as you thought you did.
That's sick.
Okay?
I like that.
And I think that everyone should be able to grapple with these conversations. Mm-hmm. I'm down any day of the week to sit down and talk about why Reza Pahlavi is not a good option for Iran or is a good option for Iran or whatever, this and that. But those things should not be distracting us from the main point. The main point being there's something urgent that's going on in the world right now to people who we care about, who we are connected to because fucking humanity. And we need to focus on that right now. Let's shelf this conversation, or if we are going to have this conversation, let's keep it respectful. Let's keep it brotherly and fair and like family vibes, you know? And still keep all eyes on what actually matters. Mm-hmm. This practice also really helps me. Like, let's say you're with your girlfriend, right? And you guys are in front of people and whatever, and you say something dumb as fuck, right? And your girlfriend just looks at you in front of everybody and starts blasting you, right? You'd be mad. Even though what you said initially was the stupid thing and you shouldn't have said it, you don't want your girlfriend to blast you in front of everybody. You want your girlfriend, because she loves you, to take you somewhere private and be like, hey, listen, Shahvar, I understand why you said that. I didn't really like what you said. I didn't want to say it in front of other people, but I don't think that was appropriate. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing here. If you frame the us versus them as being us, the people, and them as these corrupt governments, then these conversations become internal family conversations. Mm. They're not disputes. It's a matter of, hey, you and I disagree right now, and that's cool, but right now we're facing different people. Let's shelf that for a second. Let's not give them a reason to feel like they can also talk to us that way.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which is why people don't want to, right? You don't want the other person to think that they can also talk to you that way.
Yeah.
Or that there is somehow an opportunity to get in between you and your girl. Mm-hmm. That's why you don't want those. It's the same exact thing. As long as you frame it correctly, it's all the same exact thing. You and I could disagree forever. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you looking at me like I'm some weird mutant
No, you know what it
alien
was.
that
You
is-
know what? You know what that look was. Like, I was gonna ask you a question, and then I started going through the people that I'm asking the question about, and then I think I started looking at you like I would be looking at them. But I was gonna ask, what's one thing you've seen online in the last 2 weeks, like by somebody you know that's rubbed you the wrong way?
Okay. I saw one of my friends that I went to high school with posted a video of an Iranian, like a missile that went up in the air and landed back down on the floor. Okay, on the ground. And he captioned it saying, "See, the Islamic regime is doing it again. Like they're essentially sending missiles to Iran from Iran to make it seem like Israel is doing it."
Yeah.
Okay? That made me mad. Okay? And when I messaged him about it, I shouldn't have done this. Okay? Now I realize that this was a conversation for later and that I should not have drank the Kool-Aid. But I was respectful. It wasn't hostile at all. I just messaged him and I said, "What is the point of this?" And he said, "What do you mean? Everyone needs to know the Islamic regime is whatever and this and that." And I said, "Yeah, but right now, when Israel is using social media to justify what they're doing to Iran, why are you giving them ammunition?" You know what I mean? And he's like, and then later he ended up making posts about like, "Oh, I'm realizing a lot of you are pro-regime and I didn't know."
Yeah. That's
And
what
I
they
was
go to immediately.
And I was like, "Motherfucker, that doesn't make me pro-regime. They're playing a game. I want us to play it better.
Yeah.
They're using social media to brainwash people. I want us to do it better.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about what the regime is doing
And
right now.
by us, you don't mean the Islamic regime.
I mean us, the people.
People. Yeah.
I mean us, the people. Let's not make it an us versus them situation, because when you post things like that, then the question becomes, so maybe Iran's the one that's in the wrong, or maybe Israel was right. So then there's that division again.
The problem is it's as if they're watching a basketball game and they're like, "Oh, that team or that team." It's like, no, that as soon as you go this side or that side, I'm rooting for Israel, I'm rooting for Iran. In this war, you've lost.
Oh, 100%.
Right? Anti-war.
Yeah.
That's what we need. You know what I mean? Like that. And a lot of people will be like, "Well, so how's the Islamic regime going to fall without war?" Right? And that's a good fucking question. It really is. And I don't know what the answer is to that, and maybe it is procedurally the things that you've said, like
on our end,
being patient and waking up and taking responsibility and accountability for drinking the Kool-Aid. You know, it's never too late if a motherfucker said, "Fuck Palestine" or "Fuck Iran," "Fuck the people," it is what it is. It's never too late for that person to be like, "All right, you know what? That was kind of fucked up, and maybe I need to educate myself a little bit more on the things that are going on." Because like even the things that are going on and the things that we see, it's so fresh right now. How much of it is really true? What we know, you know what I mean? Even the attacks and the strikes, like how much of that is really true that we know? You know what I mean? From both sides.
Yeah.
So just take a step back, take a look at what's happening. Take a look at how this is affecting people like you or me, and is there a way procedurally, as you put it, to make a change, even if it's slow, and be patient, right? And I think a lot of Iranians, unfortunately, are waiting for like the regime to go back to the Shah, you know, and how it was with him, and a lot of people like. I think we're way past that. Personally, I don't think we're ever going back to that. Whatever, if the Islamic regime falls and a new government comes back together, it's not going to be that, right? And what was that, by the way? Was it? Do you feel like the Shah was a great leader and that's what we need for Iran? Because my opinion is that like it's kind of like Iran's situation was like taking off you're changing a baby, take off a shitty diaper and you put on a way shittier diaper. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, like, the Shah wasn't perfect and he wasn't loved either, or else there would never have been a revolution, right? But like when you look at photos and videos of the people in Iran prior to the 70s or in the 70s and prior to the 80s, you know, women were alongside men. They're classy and fresh and dripped up, and they're swimming in pools together. And I see that and I'm like, oh man, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Right. But at the end of the day, when there's so much poverty in the country and you go and throw a party and spend $1 billion on a party, the people aren't going to be happy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I have a bit of an issue with people wanting that to come back because I don't think that's the answer. Right.
I agree with you. And it's tricky because there is no real answer.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's why people are so quick to be like, then what?
Yeah.
If not Shah, then what? And it's like, motherfucker, I don't know. Like, do I look like I'm like some fucking political scientist that's like whatever? Like, the only changes that I can offer based on like my experiences or the skills I have or just thinking about it a lot and like, you know, like educating myself on the history are things that I can recommend doing gradually for the future.
Yeah.
You know, but like immediate things we don't know. And also, you know, like, again, coming back to that conversation of like thinking about things from like a micro perspective before you put them on a macro level, everything in Iran is really fresh right now. The whole Masa Amini and all the young people that died during those protests, people in Iran have a lot of resentment for the regime right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not even people in Iran, Iranians and a lot of other people around the world, we have a lot of built up resentment because they killed our brothers and sisters and we saw it all happen and we weren't able to overthrow them. And it's like building up in us. And I completely understand that. I'm compassionate about that as well. But let's not make a hasty decision. You know what I mean? Because if my friend was angry and something had happened to my friend, I would tell my friend, listen, I understand your feelings are completely valid. I completely understand. And when you are calm, I will support you 100% in any decision that you make. You make that decision, but do it when you're calm.
Yeah.
Isn't that what you would say to your angry friend?
Yeah.
So it's the same situation. I'm not saying that your pain is not valid. I'm not saying that, fuck what you went through in Iran when the protests were going on. I feel with you, not even for you. I feel with you. I am just as upset as you are. But I don't want us to go from one bad decision to another bad decision. You know what I mean? So think about these things on like a micro perspective before you put them on a macro level, I think would be a good thing to also remember. I'm offering a lot of tactical exercises.
It's good though. It's good. And I hope it plants a seed, right? Like maybe a lot of people will listen to what you're saying and not really understand
Maybe
it.
I'm a dumbass who doesn't know what I'm talking about.
Maybe me too. Maybe we're just two dumbasses sitting in a room just chatting to them like
fuck. I'd like to think that I don't think you and I are the most intelligent people ever, but I by no means, especially because we don't even live in Iran. But the reason why I think we are qualified to talk about this is A, because we are Iranian, and B, because we truly care, and C, because we care enough to do the work, which is to learn and to listen.
To be able to come together and creatively express ourselves on behalf of the people who can't. Right? And I hope these two dumbasses that are having this conversation right now inspire some smarter motherfuckers to have a conversation out there, right? Yes. That's what I hope. Like I didn't think when you asked me to be on this episode, I didn't think, oh yeah, now it's time to make a change. You know, like I just thought, okay, I can really try my best to articulate how I feel, and hopefully people can relate to that, whether they're in Iran or they're part of the diaspora.
I could never say that word.
Diaspora or
diaspora, I think.
Fuck, man. prove myself right that I'm just just a dumbass.
You just became more relatable. It's okay.
The diaspora. But yeah, like whether you're a part of whatever community, I just hope you could relate, and I hope this inspires you to express yourself in some sort of way.
Healthy way.
And a healthy way, and also inspires you to have a conversation with that friend that you disagree with, right? Because I think a lot of us avoid it and like will unfollow each other because
it's so weird.
because their posts are different from your
Don't
posts.
drink the Kool-Aid.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid.
Do not drink the fucking Kool-Aid.
There was one guy who really pushed me to that point, though. I'm not gonna lie.
He brought you by the Kool-Aid and said, drink it.
He drowned me in the Kool-Aid, to be honest.
You were getting waterboarded in the Kool-Aid.
Yeah. Holy.
I feel you, though. I've been in a few of those situations, too. But, you know, like, it's not a matter of this. Again, this is so weird, but I think it applies to everything. I think I hacked this one. Again, it's not about the things we said. We're also not perfect human beings. We also don't know exactly what's happening. None of us do, because at the end of the day, it's about politicians, and politicians are not transparent. So everything we say really in some way is speculations. You know what I mean? And our opinions and what we think. But it's just the procedure. The procedure of being able to sit with somebody and say, hey, like, what do you think is happening? What do you think is a productive way of moving forward? You know what I mean? Like, how could we help our community? Or, like, how can we just have dialogue? For the past few days, I've been going over to my friends' houses, and we're Ali's house. And we're all anxious all the time because we all have family in Iran and everything. And we just come together and we go outside and we sit by the fire and we talk. And sometimes even my own friends will say something where I'm like, bro, shut the fuck up. Like, what? And then we'll beef and we'll whatever. But it's within our own healthy little spheres that we've created for ourselves. That's also healthy. You know, having a community where you can also go and talk and disagree and whatever is also healthy. But at the end of it, ask yourself, how has this served me? And remind yourself to not drink the Kool-Aid. And remind yourself that the framework of this situation is an anti-war framework, and it's us, the people, versus the corrupt, elitist governments.
Absolutely.
Do you have anything else to add to this? I know you do. I know you do.
Maybe if you ask a specific question, but like it's just so much information.
What? Okay, I want to talk to you about your personal opinion.
Okay. I got those.
Yeah, we talked a lot about like productive ways of moving forward, but I feel like there should be a disclaimer. Disclaimer, this part of the podcast is not useful in any kind of practical way. It's just our opinion.
Personal opinion.
What do you think about, what is your position on what's happening?
On what's happening in general?
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure, but I know there's something. There's a conspiracy, and when I say conspiracy, I don't want people to think I'm thinking like some crazy shit, but like I just mean an act of conspiring, right? It's not as simple as they're making it seem. It's not about nuclear weapons. It's a playbook it's an agenda that's hidden from the public. Just the way that America and Israel are tied together and the way that they're moving and the obligations to like pledge to Israel and all these things, like there's something really strange and sinister beneath all of it.
Suspect.
That's like almost like I think it's stranger than fiction. Right? And I don't know exactly what it is, but I think knowing what it is would scare the shit out of us, right? Because at the end of the day, that's people want to cling on to what they want. They want answers. They want to be sure about things. They want certainty. But to become certain based on what they're telling you, I think you'll just get lost in the sauce.
You're better off uncertain.
You're better off uncertain. Keep yourself curious. I say curiosity didn't kill the cat. Certainty killed the certainty killed the cat's curiosity.
Aw,
right?
I like that.
Yeah. So, and then the cat died. But but
The cat still dies.
I think just even seeing the videos of Netanyahu for the last 30 years saying Iran is months away from a nuclear weapon.
It's
Iran
hilarious.
It's funny, but it's not funny at the same time because it's like what the fuck are you trying to do? You know what I mean? And like I truly think that the Israeli government is evil and they have an agenda to take over all of the Middle East. And bombing Iran was like part of that playbook, right? They bombed them because they had nuclear weapons, but they're just shooting missiles at residential areas in Iran for what? I think it's so that they retaliate, and then a war pops off.
Oh, 100%,
right?
yeah.
I don't know what's going on with the ceasefire thing, but I think I agree with you where it's like, oh look, Iran didn't abide by that, right? But then you have Trump going, I'm really mad at Israel. And I think that's because a lot of Americans are like, yo, whoa, wait a minute. Yo, is this the United States of Israel right now? Like, I've seen that everywhere when this shit was going on.
But you've heard why, though, right? You know what? Like, I hate the word conspiracy because I also, like, watched a thing somewhere that said, like, the word conspiracy was created by the CIA to, like, devalue anything that kind
JFK.
of... Yeah, to kind of, like, confuse people.
Yeah, when JFK was assassinated,
and
they coined
I don't
the
even
term.
need to know if that's true or not. It's just, practically speaking, that is kind of how it works. Like, they shut down a lot of things or they use the word conspiracy to confuse people.
He's a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, 100%.
And
it's like, don't be so dismissive because a lot of these conspiracies are rooted in a lot of things that are backed up by evidence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If that were the case, like when you go to a courtroom, nobody knows 100% what happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But there's conspiring.
But you go based on the evidence. Who has more evidence?
Right.
You know what I mean? And there's a lot of things that are supported by a lot of evidence. For example, the fact that all of these U.S., like the heads of the state and all these congressmen and whatever are blackmailed. And Israel is blackmailing them. Have you heard that conspiracy about the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing?
I have, because Elon came out and he said that shit when they were beefing on Twitter. He said like Trump is on the Epstein list. That's why it's not out.
Yeah.
And then
2 days later, because Trump initially backed out, he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna start having negotiations with the Middle East, and I'm gonna leave Israel out of these conversations." Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It lasted about 2 days.
Yeah.
And then Elon tweeted that, "Hey, Donald was in the Jeffrey Epstein files," and then 2 days later they made up, and this war goes down.
Yeah.
And it's like my brother is like anti-conspiracy, like so opposite of me. And I'm gonna tell you guys the same thing that I always tell him. I'm not saying it is true. I'm saying, why not?
Yeah. But like, are we really going to pretend that governments don't conspire?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's for sure.
It's insane, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like the word conspiracy is bastardized now. So like, as soon as people hear it, they think, oh, some loony ass lie.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
But MK Ultra was a conspiracy theory at one point. Just a theory. Right, that people were being brainwashed using psychedelics and LSD and all these things. And there's a hospital where they take them and they medicate them and try to clean the slate of their mind so they can replace it with other. But now we know MK Ultra really happened.
Yeah,
and it's a fact. It's not skepticism anymore. Like we know it happened. It really happened, right? So we're gonna really act like. What's your favorite conspiracy that turned out to be true? Do you have one?
Yeah, I do. It's stupid though.
Whatever.
People are gonna toast me for this.
It's okay.
But vaccines cause autism.
Oh shit.
And I'm not talking about all vaccines. There are specific kinds of vaccines. I forgot. They're called like mRNA something that they gave to people back in the days, and it caused autism in a lot of kids, in a lot of children. And and there's a whole documentary on it called Unvaxxed. Yeah, it's called Unvaxxed. And the documentary, the first one that came out, it garnered so much support from families who were calling these people and saying the same thing happened to my child that they made a tour out of it. And they started a van that said Unvaxxed on the van, and they started touring across America and interviewing families who had vaccinated their kids and who had gotten autism as a result of it.
I didn't know there's a
And
whole
then this documentary gets buried, and people are like, and it's like, how the fuck is there so much more autism now than there was before these fucking vaccines? And they have directly like buried all the evidence, and you have to watch this documentary.
I'll watch it.
Yeah, that one
Man,
drives me nuts.
when you said I'm gonna get torched for this one, I did not think you were gonna choose vaccines give autism.
But I'm dead ass. Bro, I'm dead ass. I swear to God, why? Do you think that's funny?
No, it's
okay.
It's like the one you can actually get torched for, like the one.
It's fine. If I'm gonna get toasted, I'm gonna get toasted.
It's okay. Nah, we're just speculating anyways. But
Hey, listen, my existence is an act of rebellion.
word.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I believe that I may be wrong about a lot of things and whatever, but I'm a fucking human being.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%.
I have a fucking right to live this life just like you have a fucking right to live this life.
I've grown up being the conspiracy theorist friend and family member.
What?
Like,
You don't
that
believe
is-
the vaccine thing though?
I don't not believe it. I actually have a friend who believes that vaccines gave his child autism.
But I'm telling you guys, please watch this documentary before you toast me, okay? First of all, you shouldn't toast me on this. This whole episode is about something so important. If you're going down into the comment section right now to toast me on my personal favorite conspiracy theory, you're kind of fried. But if you are going to toast me, please, I beg of you, watch the documentary.
I'll watch it.
Do the research, because
Yeah.
the documentary tells you exactly all of the documents that they've buried,
Yeah.
all of the research that they have done that has been incomplete, that has been fabricated.
Yeah.
All of those, hear all of these families tell their personal stories and then come toast me.
Yeah.
And also, I admittedly said, not all vaccines, these particular vaccines, and their name, the scientific name escapes me right now.
Yeah.
But Shahvar, there's a family. This lady has twins. Okay? She takes her twins to the doctor to get them vaccinated when they're kids.
Yeah.
Something falls on the floor and they bent down to get it. It's a little bit of chaos because of the kids, whatever. The doctor ends up accidentally giving one of her kids 2 doses of that vaccine.
Yeah.
Okay? The kid, and then she ends up getting mad and is like, okay, I don't even, like, are you fried? You're a doctor and you're giving my kid 2 doses of whatever. Like, do you know if this is gonna, like, harm her? Whatever. Ends up barging out of the doctor's office. The kid that didn't get a vaccine, perfectly normal. The kid who got 2 doses of the vaccine
Superhuman.
is so autistic. And I'm not laughing because it's funny, because I'm laughing because I know people are gonna be like, well, duh, they got double dosed. And it's like, no, like, it's not the double dose. When you watch this documentary and you hear these families talk about it's like, one thing to be like, oh, vaccines cause autism, but it's like, it's something that's like literally like plaguing, like it's plaguing, right?
Plaguing, yeah.
Plaguing?
Yeah.
The United States right now, so many families,
yeah.
you know, like,
That's
it's
what
fucked.
RFK is fighting for, right? Like, he's been saying that for years.
How did we get here?
I asked you a fucked up question. That's how we got here still.
Am I gonna get toasted for this?
No, you'll be good. You'll be all right. You'll be all right.
I said not all vaccines. Fuck's sakes.
I don't not believe it. Like, I just haven't dove into it.
Do it
like
when you
that.
have time. What's a conspiracy? Can you please cook yourself with me? What's a conspiracy? What's the craziest conspiracy theory that you believe? It's got to be as bad as mine, please.
It's not as bad as yours, but I believe it, but I haven't found the most concrete evidence for it yet. But I believe it because of its convenient timing, and it has
You're a flat earther?
No, it has to do. I am not. It has to do with Zionism.
It's a good thing we're having this conversation at the end, because if we had it at
we
the
could just
beginning,
cut it.
everybody would log out of this conversation.
This is Patreon content. They gotta pay the paywall to get to this shit.
If they logged in and that was the first thing we said, they'd be like, "Oh, they're fucked."
These guys are cooked, yo. No,
Okay.
but it has to do with Zionism. So
Okay.
I went down this fucking rabbit hole. I remember I went down this rabbit hole because one of my friends told me to watch a documentary called Europa. Right?
Okay.
Europa is this doc that's all about Zionism and how they're taking over and blah, 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 central banks and da-da-da-da-da. And there's this one part of the doc that was like, in order for the Zionist Congress to get the Balfour Declaration signed, they had to take over the media and use the media as propaganda to get the United States to go to war against Germany for Great Britain, right? Then I was like, wait, what? How? And then they're like, oh, because in the documentary, they're like, the Rothschilds bought the Associated Press. I'm like, how do they know this? So I went on Google and I started looking it up and I couldn't find nothing. You don't find nothing about the Rothschilds buying the Associated Press. It's not there. So I kept diving deeper. I'm like, so if it's not that, I'm like, if this documentary, I'm like, fuck this documentary, because if I can't go and find proof on this, then this entire documentary is bunk, right?
Yeah.
So I just went and I kept diving in, try to find what it is that, like, how did they have the influence to get the Balfour Declaration signed? Because it's documented that Arthur Balfour actually said no to them first. He said, nah, you guys can't have Palestine. Get the fuck out of here. Then a couple months later, he signed the declaration, right? So it's like, how? Why? What was this influence, right? And there's this thing called the Zimmerman telegram.
Okay.
Right? It's a real telegram. You can search it up. You can find it and read it, and it's been translated and everything, right? And basically what the Zimmerman telegram is it's a secret message from Germany to Mexico during World War I, right? They used to use like Morse code, but the militaries back then also used this thing called the Zimmerman telegram to send secret messages. So it's a secret message from Germany to Mexico saying, hey, yo, listen, we're going to attack the States, right? And when we do, we want your allyship. We want you guys to be allies with us. And if you help us, we'll give you back Arizona and New Mexico, right? So they're promising them whatever. And the timing of when the Zimmerman telegram was retrieved by Great Britain and the Balfour Declaration getting signed is exact. Like, it's like within 2 weeks.
That's crazy.
Right?
And you found this telegram?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. So you can just literally type in Zimmerman telegram, Germany, right? And it's not a conspiracy, or it's not speculated that it's even true. The telegram's true. Everybody, like, it's...
So why is it allowed to be online? Why is it still up?
No, it's not there's nothing like wrong with the telegram. Everybody knows it's true, right? But my conspiracy theory is that the Zionist Congress is the one who retrieved the telegram and used it as leverage to get Great Britain's support from America, because that was basically what Great Britain's biggest problem was at the time.
Yeah.
Was they were getting their ass whooped by Germany and they needed U.S. support, but the U.S. wasn't trying to go to war with Germany at the time. So then when the Zimmerman telegram dropped, the U.S. is like, bitch, what? All right, y'all want to fucking beef? I can beef. And they beefed. They fucked up Germany in World War I.
Is this your conspiracy theory, or it's based on the documentary that you watched?
No, that documentary didn't give me what I needed because I couldn't confirm. If I watch a documentary and something shocks me, I'm like, whoa, I go and try to confirm it.
Yeah, that's what I did too
Right?
with the anti-vax thing.
Yeah, so
Bro, stop.
No, I'm not vaccinated, by the way. Like, through all of COVID, I didn't get
But
vaccinated.
It's not all vaccines.
I understand. I didn't say, I don't disagree with you.
And when you watch the documentary, you realize that it also has to do with age.
See, right now, you're like that documentary where I'm like, yo, so I have to go, like, confirm the thing, right?
Yeah, I already went and confirmed it.
Got you. I still got to do that myself. So,
I believe you.
do you?
Yeah.
You shouldn't.
I'm
should
worried
go-
about you right now because I'm thinking, oh, this conspiracy, if Shahvar says it's true, it's probably true. He's going to walk out of my house and get smoked. Can I tell you something crazy? To put a lighthearted spin on this. If I die, I'm putting this out there for everybody to know, okay? If I die because I am assassinated for something that I said, or that kind of death where I said something and they had to silence me and they killed me for it, I want everybody, friends, family, audience, everybody right now to know I died exactly how I wanted to die.
Oh, you want to get murked?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Because if everybody's gonna die, people die from disease and old age and this and that. If I'm gonna die, I want to die for something sick.
Yeah.
I want to die because I told people a fucking something that they didn't want them to know.
Yeah.
I want to die because I actually did something. But then again, I think about fucking Edward Snowden and I'm like, the poor guy ruined his whole life to tell the American people the government's surveilling you. And everyone was like, what else is on Netflix? So I don't fucking know.
That's facts. And yeah, it goes back to like my jadedness and hopelessness. But
Smoke me is what I'm saying.
But yeah, that's my favorite conspiracy theory. I'm yet to confirm it as like fully true.
Can you make a documentary on it?
As soon as I get the concrete evidence that the Zimmerman telegram was retrieved by the Zionists and the British government, then I'll make the documentary.
But do it as like a conspiracy thing. Like put make it your own.
Yeah.
I saw somebody like did something like that on TikTok. It was something stupid that they did. But even the French president and his wife, Brigitte Macron?
Yeah.
Have you seen the TikTok docuseries on
I
it?
haven't, but her being...
a man, his dad is something
His
I
dad?
heard. That's what I heard. I haven't gotten too deep into that.
That's wild.
But did you see her shoving his face?
I've seen that.
That was fucked.
Yeah.
But anyways, make something like that. That would be cool.
Yeah, I might.
I might make something like that on my anti-vax shit.
Yeah.
I'm not anti-vaccines. I'm anti whatever that vaccine was that gave a bunch of people autism.
100%. There's vaccines that are fucked. Like, Fauci was part of a HIV vaccine trial. I'm gonna butcher this, but like that he went to Africa for, and did he give a bunch of people fucking syphilis?
That sounds about right.
Some crazy shit. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
Even right now, like, it's not a conspiracy theory. Even right now, after, like, all the COVID vaccines and everything, I don't care how you feel about the vaccines, but you can't deny the fact that there's a lot of people with very legitimate side effects.
Yeah, like myocarditis.
And it's not something that's denied. Like,
100%.
it's something that's completely... Even Pierre, in his platform when he was running, they asked him what he was going to do about it because, you know, they're indemnified.
Yeah.
You can't take them to court. They have, like, their own special courts.
Loophole. They have their own loophole?
Like, they have their own special courts.
Who, like the vaccine companies?
Vaccine companies and
Oh,
stuff.
like Pfizer and them?
Yeah, so you can't take them to court, and people are, cause essentially, they're indemnified in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And they don't even, the damages that they give back to people is essentially like money that it's just this whole fucked up thing.
Yeah.
And they're not even really compensating people. They're not even giving them damages. You know, so this is not like a thing of like, I'm a conspiracy theorist for this. And that goes with a lot of things. A lot of things are like start off as conspiracy theories, but like they have very legitimate roots. You know what I mean? And like that whole being indemnified, like these vaccine companies, that's a big issue. In my opinion.
Yeah.
In this election, I wanted their platforms to focus on that a lot more. Because what the fuck happens to all those families who lost loved ones and people who had heart attacks and all this other fucked up shit happened that they've directly linked to the vaccines.
Yeah.
There's like so many things, like even like the whole BLM thing. It was like a conspiracy theory that it was a legit thing. It was like a whole thing. What happened to that? What happened to that fucker? You still type BLM on iPhone and it gives you one of these ones.
Yeah. You
thing.
mean the organizers getting like really rich off of it and shit?
Yeah. And they went to court for it. What happened?
I don't even know.
They froze their assets or some shit. Like, these are very legitimate things, guys.
Yeah.
Let's,
They are.
It's fun to care.
Yeah.
It's fun to care. That's my slogan. Make it fun to care again.
Make it fun to care again.
Mika?
Mitfika.
Mifka. Make it fun to care again.
Yeah.
Miftka.
Miftka.
It
doesn't.
Why does that sound Hebrew?
It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
But anyways, do you have anything else to add? I'm fucking boiling in this room.
I'm boiling too.
Do you have anything to add?
Do I have anything to add? Honestly, I think the only thing I have to add is if anybody out there has input, any advice on how we could be more supportive to the people in Iran, then drop it in the comments. I'd love to read your thoughts. If you disagreed with anything we say, open arms. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But let's do it in a friendly way, because I will fucking find you.
You're looking staring right at the camera. I won't find you. Shit, I can barely find my car in the parking lot of the gym. So I won't find you, but I'm just going to say don't drink the Kool-Aid. If you want to disagree, if you want to have a discussion on anything, I'm 100% down too. Same thing as Shahvar said. Drop a comment. Let's talk about it. But don't drink the fucking Kool-Aid. And when you are starting to believe something or you want to share your opinion, ask yourself, has this opinion served me or the likes of me in the past ever?
I love that.
So, don't drink the Kool-Aid and ask yourself that question, and let's have a friendly conversation. And again, the only right position is an anti-war position.
Anti-war. Free Palestine, free Iran, free everywhere else that needs freeing.
Free everybody till it's backwards.
Free the chains of your mind.
Freedom. Love you guys. Bye.